Okay, folks, we have us a problem. Old man Murphy has reared his head. As expected, I thought I had it fixed, but apparently not. This brass collar that this screw goes up through, it comes from the bottom to the top, and then a nut is soldered on the end of the screw shaft. That brass collar is just stripped. I thought I had fixed it, but I didn't. So I am now unable to adjust the local oscillator. I can't trim it up because it just won't work. I mean, it won't tighten up, it won't do anything. I just turn it round and round and nothing happens. That's no good. So that's great, because now I get to go back into the radio. You know, for a while there I thought it was just about over. The fun had ended. I don't like it when fun ends. So what we're going to do, we got to fix this. You know, we got to come up with a fix. That'd be a good thing to show you all anyway. I've been thinking about this anyway, in case that thing was, stripped too much. And as it turned out, it was. But I'm prepared for it. I am red eye, as we say down here in Arkansas, red eye. So this tuner is going to come back out. All right. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the solder. Before I do anything, it'll be a lot easier to remove the solder from that screw while the tuner is screwed to the chassis, instead of trying to fumble around with it after it's taken off. Well, the solder has been removed, and last night when I was listening to AM radio, I tried to tune in WSM out of Nashville, and it just didn't work. I could not get WSM on this radio. Well, I'll tell you what, that makes this an emergency repair. The tuner has been removed. It took all of 10 minutes, no big deal. I need to pass something on to you. There's going to be times when you're going to fire up a radio, or you're going to turn it on, and then you're going to be looking at it and you're going to say, oh my God, I did this wrong. Or, this is not working right. What am I going to do? Well, what do you mean, what are you going to do? We're hobbyists, we're restorers, we're repairmen. What you're going to do is tear it back apart. That's what we do. We tear things apart. The screw and the nut are out. Can't use them over again. But I will say that the screw is not stripped. So it's inside the collar that's stripped right here. So what do we do? Well, this collar is brass and it's just pressed into this metal. I think if I get a pair of vice grips, which I have, I'll just use needle nose for now. I think if I get the pair of vice grips on each side of it like that, I ought to be able to move it back and forth and pull that thing right out. And when I do, I'll have a larger hole to play with. I'll be able to cement a nut right around where that hole was. Once the collar is removed, let's get over here where you can see a little better. Once that collar is removed, I can go ahead and cement a nut there and use a larger screw. I think this here is like a number, this looks like a number 4 to me. I think I might be able to get by with a number 6 and a number 6 nut cemented right there. If this were not the tuner, I'd solder it in. I'd give me a brass nut and solder it in using the torch, but I don't want to take any excessive heat to this thing, so we'll try to cement it in real good with some epoxy. And once that epoxy is in, it should hold well enough to just run the screw back up through and go ahead and again solder a nut on the end of it. So I'll need a brass nut and a brass screw. And actually I'll need 2 brass nuts, one for here and one for the screw, and of course a brass screw. Why brass? Because it conducts heat quickly and easier to solder the nut on. So let me see if I can get that collar out of there now. This ought to be fun, huh? Everything is fun with this stuff. Well, there's no going back now, folks. I have committed myself. Alright, next thing to do is pick up a couple of nuts and a screw at my local hardware store. I didn't want to buy it until I made sure all this was going to work. Not bad, though. Not bad at all. Came right, it just popped right out of there. Incidentally, it was a hexagon's base. It has a hexagon base, and that hole that it fits in was also hexagon. I'll tell you what, you guys ever own a 145 Atwater Kent, you're going to know how to do just about everything on that. Let me make the mistakes, Well, the first thing I did was remove the mica so it does not get damaged, okay? If at all possible, anytime you're working around mica, at any place, on any radio, if you can remove the mica, do it, because it makes life a whole lot easier when it comes time to put it back in and you still have it. It's not all busted to pieces. So we'll stick that in there temporarily. I think I'll just slide it down through here like so and keep it there. And I've already started with some fairly coarse sandpaper. It's actually emery paper. And I am sandpapering the side where the nut will be cemented on with epoxy. I want the surface to be rough for a good gripping, a good grip by the glue. And I'm going to use quite a bit of glue on that. Not for me, but for someone, down the pike, I would know to take it easy on that oscillator trimmer cap adjustment screw. But some guy, I don't know, 20 years from now, he may not know that, and he may put a gorilla grip on there and just bust it all loose and have to go through everything I'm going through, and might not be able to repair it next time. So I'm going to put quite a bit of glue around there. I'm going to really load it up. I want that thing to be 100% solid. Well, I thought I'd do a little bit of work outside today. Instead of just roughing the surface up here with sandpaper, I decided to take my moto tool and a grinding stone and kind of rough it up really good around there. I need that nut that I'm going to cement in there. I need to have a really good gripping surface. In fact, I'm even going to rough up the one side of the nut itself, maybe both sides, probably both sides, but I'll do the second side after it's glued in and dried. And that way I can pile a little bit of glue up around the edge of it all the way around. And I've decided not to use the 5-minute gel this time. I went out and bought a pack of the clear epoxy weld 2-ton. And it also will withstand up to 2,500 psi of pressure, whatever it's put on. So we're going to give that a try. It takes 30 minutes for this stuff to dry. It's clear weld. I don't know, super high strength, it says. We'll see. I need that super high strength. Alright, I think that'll be enough. Now we need to rough this up a little bit, same way. I decided to even rough along the flat sides all the way around. Get it all rough. Because I'm going to pile quite a bit of cement up against the side of it all the way around. And that'll give another good gripping surface. When they say to mix equal amounts of epoxy or any other kind of cement, make sure that they're equal amounts. Now, what happened was when I squirted the cement out of this for the first time, it invariably happens one of the two liquids comes out faster than the other. So what you do is you have to scrape away all the amount that's over equal. So when you get done, you got two equal amounts. Here, it's just a matter of taking something flat and just scraping it away until you got two blobs of the same size. Now you mix it up. Now when you do any mixing on 2-part epoxies or any kind of 2-part cement, mix from the outside in. Stir, mix from the outside in. Do not just stir around in a circle and then scoop it up and put it on what it is you're gluing. It won't work very well. You need to scoop it from the outside in. Outside in. That way any glue that's not properly mixed on the outside edges gets pulled in and mixed, okay? Very important. And then when you get it all mixed, some of it's going to be on your screwdriver or whatever it is you mixed with, wipe it off. Start with a nice clean tip that you're going to apply the cement with, whatever that might be. That way you don't have any unmixed cement on your screwdriver tip either. I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than unmixed cement. It never dries. If it's not mixed properly and it's not thoroughly mixed, it won't dry and it won't harden up and it won't work. And then you're going to find yourself breaking it all off and starting all over again. Take the time to do it now. Alright, what we're going to do is take a little bit of that cement. We're going to put it around that hole. Just kind of dab it around. Now they said it takes 30 minutes for this to dry, so I got plenty of time to work with it, okay? Plenty of time to work with it. Put a nice coating all the way around like so. Get it on there. Don't want to put it on there too thick. Doesn't have to be, you can pile it up later. Right now you just kind of I'm going to wait for this stuff to get really tacky. Then I'm going to put the nut on. And I'm going to put the nut on using these tweezers right here. Every good workbench or radio repairman should have a good pair of tweezers like this. Go out and invest in them. They come in so handy for, you know, gripping things like this and placing it up on there, working with small things. You just can't beat it. It's been a few minutes, and you know, the cement is around the hole and it's drying. But you know, every once in a while you might want to stick your screwdriver or something in the cement over here to see how it's drying. That's your test place, not there. Alright, I think that's just about got it. Now we'll just let her harden up. It's the next day and the cement has had all night to harden up, and look how hard that is. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Now the 5-minute gel would not have hardened up like that. It would have had a spongy feeling to it. It may have held, but you know, better to go with the right stuff. Alright, so now what we're going to do is take our mica, slide it back in where it belongs, very careful like. It's always a problem with this stuff, you got to be careful. Alright, that goes in there. I'll make sure it goes in even further. And then we're going to take this screw and we're going to put this flat washer on first, like so. And then we're going to take this fiber washer and put on second. And then we're going to run that thing from the bottom up. Alright, the mica goes in with the notch side down. I had it backwards actually before. Goes in just like that. And let me see here. See if I can get this screw on and the fiber washer on. And it's going to go up through the bottom just like that. I'm going to have to, it'll be a two-hand operation to get it up through there and get it threaded into that nut. Let me get that done. Well, that's it, folks. We got the screw back in with the flat washer and the insulator. You got to have that insulator, and that's working real well. It closed up the trimmer cap really all the way, really nice with the mica in between. It'll have to be loosened up, of course, but unfortunately the screw's not quite long enough. But I can pick up a longer one tomorrow. It'll be up to about here, about the same height, maybe a little longer than these others, but it won't make any difference. And I'll have to bend this little tab down here to make clearance for the screw head. I've already bent it once in the past. I don't want to bend it too much more. It could pop right off. So what I'll do is just kind of bend it down this way toward the, you know, this thing right here. And maybe as long as it's clear of the metal, I might just go ahead and leave it. I don't want to bend it down and bend it back. You know, you start asking for trouble when you do that. It could pop right off. So anyway, tomorrow night we should have this thing back on. All I'm going to do is get a longer screw, put it in, solder a nut on the top just like we did with these here, and then stick it back in the radio. Next time, I don't think, by the way, after I get it all done and get it back in the radio, I don't think I'll be able to tune in WSM quite yet until I get an alignment done, which will be our next video. The next video will be an alignment. And then, folks, the video after that is a very special video. You don't want to miss that one. So until next time, this is John.